to Overdrive AF, the official podcast of Overdrive Fitness. My name is Teddy Gerzon, and I'm joined by Gina Marie Gerzon.
What's up, Warriors?
What is up? All right, so we are wrapping up the NFL Combine weekend, one of my favorite weekends of the year, being that we are in the strength and conditioning field, right? So it's just amazing to see, you know, the type of athletes that we've evolved into. You know, it's funny that this weekend comes up, considering that somebody recently said that the athletes haven't been getting bigger and stronger. Basically said the opposite of what's going on, right? And I mean, dude, there was a guy who was 282 pounds that ran 4.5 or 4.6 40. That's insane. I could be wrong. I think it was 4.4, but regardless, the physical specimens that we've been seeing at this, what's basically a resume for the NFL, interview process for the NFL is amazing, right? So obviously this is also a big thing for me too, because I love football. So anything football, you can pretty much count me in on partaking in. What we wanted to talk about today was basically two different forms of care, right? So self-care, or actually that's really the overall theme, self-care, right? So I've got one way that I think athletes really need to focus on as far as self-care and taking preventative measures towards avoiding one of every parent-athlete's nightmares, and that is watching their athlete suffer a concussion, or in some cases multiple, which I know some parents have had to suffer through watching that. And I know you had something on your mind about self-care, right?
Well, we had originally spoken about self-care being the new healthcare.
Yes.
And just jotting that down the other day and discussing it quickly, that it would be another topic that we would discuss. It seems as though there's a podcast out there that's called Self-Care is the New Healthcare. There's a book now that's called Self-Care is the New Healthcare. So obviously, it's becoming much more important, and it's obviously on people's minds and on professionals' minds now to get it out there, because we need it, I think, now more than ever within what's happened the past 2 years, and even moving forward out of it. I think self-care can kind of designate itself into different categories. I think different categories of self-care. Mental, emotional, physical, financial, occupational, social, environmental, spiritual. So I think it can cover all different aspects, and it's important for us to be able to kind of tap into each of those in our own way, so that we do, create more of a healthy environment in so many different ways, in so many different respects, for ourselves and then for each other. To have that discipline, I guess, of self-renewal, and allowing it to be a part of our everyday life, instead of us maybe feeling guilty about following through with maybe one of those things, and feeling bad about actually doing that for ourselves when it does so many wonderful things for us, because obviously now you're seeing that I don't know, it seems as though health is on the decline instead of on the rise. And I think that we need to kind of take a couple steps back so that we can take that leap forward, to allow ourselves to feel good on those so many different levels. So I don't know, for whether it's our children, our kids, our younger athletes, our adults that come in. I mean, exercise for us, obviously, the strength training, the exercise, the movement, combining that with your nutritional strategies, your stress relief strategies, that community aspect. These are all things that we talk about all the time anyway. So for us, that's priority. And branching off all of those things, you know, that could be mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, more of a community thing. All of those, I mean, those four things can kind of branch out into so many others. And then with that, if you've already found an exercise regimen, or you've already found a community to train at, or train with, coaches that work with you, if you've already set in place nutritional strategies, possibly a meditation practice, or if it's not a meditation practice, if you have a house of worship that you go to, or possibly even getting a bodywork session, massage therapy, Reiki, energy work, a manicure, pedicure, a facial, those things that help you unwind and decompress. And there's an energetic component to that, because we do definitely renew, we do release, we do let go. If there's a social worker that you speak to, if you have therapy sessions by yourself or with a significant other to help the mental and the psychological, emotional aspect of renewal and repurposing and things like that, getting your finances in order, all of those things. Remember that we're creating really good habits, and as you do that and you move forward, you kind of let go of the old, and again, taking care of yourself and allowing all that new to come in. Again, this is all renewal. So I think, getting those habits in order and having a daily practice of more than one of those things, hitting that physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, religious, occupational, financial, environmental, whatever that is. Maybe you garden, maybe you donate some time to a park or an animal shelter, or a book club, or whatever, the library, whatever the case, giving something back to the community, doing good for others. That's part of self-renewal and self-care for you. So I think, kind of checking those things off every day, and then even every week, that's all part of your self-care, and it does allow you to feel better. It does allow you to be a better you outside of you, because when you're a better you inside of you, everybody notices that. The glow on your face, the energy that you bring, and when you enter a room, how you speak to people, just how you go about your day, emails that you send, texts that you receive and return, classes that you teach, whatever the case, sitting down and having conversation with your family, whatever. I think that all of those things allows you to be a better you. And self-care is crucial right now. So start to, check those boxes off, everything that I had mentioned. I think it's important that we do better for ourselves. And Teddy had brought this up just the other day. So we've been much more cognizant recently, out of the pandemic and within these past 2 years, that there's plenty of our colleagues that have had to close up shop and move out of New York State, and actually move out of the tri-state area, and actually get away from fitness and away from what we do and what we love so much. So I'm very proud. We are very proud to say that we've been able to jump right through and not just survive but thrive within these past 2 years, and our business has never been better. And to, you know, allow ourselves for that reassessment and bringing that self-care in back and in better than what we had done in the past, making sure that we get our exercise in, making sure that we're eating well, that accountability for ourselves, allowing ourselves to decompress more, and like for instance, you know, just setting up little like mini, even if it's not a large vacation, but we're setting up time away, even if it's a night out or a day or a weekend or something. You know, not doing anything that has to do with work or with the business, but that self-care is, you know, connecting with each other and being, you know, doing more for ourselves in that grand scheme of things. So that's what had come up with us recently, and just starting to plan that again and planning for the next one. Hopefully that inspires you guys to start to do more of those things for yourself, because at the end of the day, when you put your head on the pillow, you feel better that you got what you got done. You're a better person for it, and when you wake up tomorrow and then moving forward, things continually get better. But we just have to maintain that discipline of allowing that self-care in, making it a very important part of our lives. Just like we get up and brush our teeth and take a shower and, you know, cook our meals and make sure the kids get to school and, you know, paying the bills and all these other things. But these are all priorities, I get it. But if we're not capable of doing that healthfully, and so I just think that we need to take more pride in that, and make it a serious priority. So start to check those things off your list one at a time. Fit those things every week in for yourself, and you'll start to feel better.
Yeah, I mean, self-care is obviously always huge. And another way to look at it too is, you know, it's tough to give you the best version of yourself to anything that you put your energy into if you aren't at your best, right? So, you know, it's hard to go out and work every day to provide for your family if you're not physically and mentally your best, right? You're not going to be as productive. It's hard to put it all on the field and perform at your best so that your team can dominate and win if you're not taking care of yourself so that you can fulfill your role on that team in whatever aspect it may be, right? So talking more from like a sports performance side as far as self-care, well, let's put it this way. Every athlete that comes into Overdrive, right, and most athletes in general, they all want to get faster, they want to become more powerful, become stronger, they want to be more agile, and they just want to get in better shape, right? So they just want to be better overall athletes. Now, the self-care, all the things that Gina had mentioned are very important to all athletes and washed-up athletes like our weekday warriors and everyone in general, right? What I like to focus on is not only just getting faster or getting stronger, but looking at, I guess you can even call it a KPI, a key performance indicator, of what is actually moving an athlete's performance forward, right? And it's sprint momentum, right? So sprint momentum. I know I just stumbled across my words right there, but in a physics aspect, right? Momentum is it's the letter P, right? So it's P equals mv, so it's just momentum equals mass times velocity, right? And the reason why I think that's so important is it factors in size and speed, right? So it's one thing to get faster, but if you've got nothing behind it, then what's the point, right? So like you could be you could get lightning fast, and what you did maybe to get faster was that you dropped 10 pounds, and now you're 110 pounds. But you're going to run into somebody that's 180. Like, I'm pretty sure we all know who's going to win that battle, okay? Unless, of course, you had a 100-yard head start against that person that was standing still. But, you know, the point being is, in most cases in which sprint momentum is applied, is usually to collision sports. But being from our personal standpoint, we've trained a lot of female athletes over the years, and I mean, obviously the ACL injuries it always seems to happen more often in females, but an often overlooked injury is a concussion, right, or multiple concussions, right? And it's crazy to think that, but it does happen more frequently with female athletes as opposed to male athletes. Mainly, I mean, one of the top things that people look at is, as far as finding a common denominator, is the neck to shoulder ratio, right? The frame of a female, and let's be, it's 2023, I think we should be more specific here. The frame of a female that was born a female is always going to be at a smaller ratio than a neck to shoulder ratio compared to a male. Okay, so you know, women in general just don't have the same muscle that most men have as far as like surrounding their neck and head area, right? So with that being said, you know, obviously we always want to make every athlete stronger, and when it comes to female athletes, a lot of them, they're just afraid to wind up looking like a linebacker, right? And you know what, that's most of the time that's never going to happen unless that female athlete is taking anabolic steroids. But you know, one thing that we like to focus on is because, like, let's face it, most of the female athletes that come in here, they're either preteens or they are teens, right? And then they become college athletes with us, so they're growing and changing rapidly, right? From when they first step in when they're 12 years old, and then next thing you know they're 22, and in some cases they're turning 30 and invite us to their fucking weddings, which makes me feel old as hell. But you know, they're rapidly changing. So like, if it's in their genetics just to get bigger, like because their parents are also bigger people, then there's nothing we can do. Like, we can't play God and change their genetics, right? So one thing we do want to focus on is sprint momentum, because we want to make sure that, all right, are they getting faster, or are they remaining the same speed, and what else is factoring into that? Oh, they're getting bigger, or they're staying the same size and getting faster, or both, right? And the reason why I feel it's so important for female athletes is because, let's face it, every female athlete is going to have a physical collision with another female athlete at some point. I don't care what sport you play. It could be volleyball, soccer, lacrosse, softball, field hockey, basketball. It doesn't matter, right? With the exception of swimming, obviously. But, you know, all these team sports, you're going to, if you're a female athlete, you're going to collide with someone if you haven't yet. And if you haven't yet, it's probably just because you're not getting on the field, right? But it's going to happen. And when it comes to head-on collisions, I'm pretty sure you always want to be on the winning side of that. So what's so wrong with making sure that the speed that you've developed is actually backed with some oomph, with some mass, right? And we don't exactly mean like
lean
you gotta
mass.
be 200 pounds. Yeah, it's like at like 5'2", right? We want you to be lean and powerful.
But the females that come in here, and when they're training appropriately, they develop lean mass, so they become more explosive, they become more powerful. They just add on in a feminine respect, in an athletic respect. They just add on more lean mass to their already athletic frame. They just become better at what before, like from when they started. So when they come in here and they start training, that's a very important point to make.
Yes. So, I mean, let's also face it too. Let's be real with, especially with the specific athletes, female athletes that we've had. How many of them have we made jacked like a linebacker,
None.
Zero.
People have to understand that when athletes, if you're going to, female athletes or just athletes in general, if they're getting huge, and when we say huge, is it adipose tissue huge or is it lean mass huge? Because we are not building adipose tissue. We're not adding fat mass on when we train. We are emitting really healthy brain chemicals, neurotransmitters, hormones that are promoting lean mass. Right? They're promoting more resiliency, more strength, more even drive and focus and things like that too, but tendons, ligaments, muscle tissue, that's what we're building on and building more of. We're building upon that. We're making those things more resilient. So that doesn't make them bigger. It actually tightens you up. It actually forms you. It recomposes your body. If you're noticing that your child or your teenager is getting bigger, you have to start looking at what they're doing outside of their strength training regimen. You know, what are they eating? What are they drinking? And let's be honest. I mean, that's what it is. That is, you know, start to take the accountability at that point and say, you know what, maybe 4 cheeseburgers is not exactly what you should be, you know, eating after your workout. Maybe, and everybody's been a teenager. I'm not, there's no judgment, but the drinking, the alcohol, you know, the munchies and, you know, that kind of stuff. Hey, whatever. I'm not judging. Point is you just have to look at everything. But the strength training is not what's making them bigger.
I feel attacked. So, like, to give you specific examples too, I'm not going to mention these people's names, especially because they're female athletes and they're also minors. But 3 athletes in particular, their numbers I have in front of me. One of them, God, how old was she when she started here? Like 9, 10, and now she's like 15, right? So when we first tracked their 10-yard fly, so that's what we use as far as the velocity aspect of figuring out their sprint momentum, right? So their 10-yard fly, how fast can they run through a 10-yard window, right? She ran a 1.22, right? 1.22 seconds, she covered 10 yards, right? She was only 112 at the time, okay? So we retested, and obviously a lot of time has passed because I'm about to mention the weight difference, right? So it was like a year or 2 from the initial test, right? It was well over a year, actually. It was closer to 2 years. We retested again, and her 10-yard fly was 1.06, right? So she got 0.16 seconds faster in the 10-yard fly. She was lightning fast, okay? She was 112 when she ran the 122. She was 134 when she ran the 1.06, okay? Now, the physical change between when she was 12 to 14, I mean, that may be only 2 years, just looking at time, but you're talking about, like, jumping through puberty at that age, right? So there's some rapid changes, and then let's factor in the size of their parents. And parents are both taller people, okay? So, you know, and I don't have her body fat in front of me, but trust us, she
I know
did
exactly
not get fatter. She only got leaner.
She got more muscular. She got leaner. She added lean mass onto her frame, segmentally, and in all in all. And I actually have a quote. I was looking through just some different things that I had posted in the past, and this member, parents, and this athlete all train here, and this athlete was in the bathroom, and parent was waiting for this female athlete to come out of the bathroom, and turned to her and said, "Geez, what took you so long?" The athlete said to the parent, "I was flexing." That actually gives me chills, because that just goes to show you how proud this athlete was and is for all the hard work that she's been putting in here for how many years, because she sees it. And all of that is what's gotten her to where she is today. And let me tell you, she's a phenomenal athlete, and she's going places. Mm-hmm. We all know that. It's obvious. But that quote, I actually posted that on my story.
Yeah.
Was it last year?
I think so.
And I was actually looking through things today, and I wanted to repost it just to remind people that the female athletes, and you can see it all over social media and all over Instagram too. I mean, you get what you give. So when you put the work in, and it's obvious that this chick is no joke, and she's got plenty more years of time and plenty more years of training and plenty more years of just killing it to look forward to. But she ain't worried about getting bigger, because she hasn't gotten bigger. She's gotten taller, she's gotten more explosive, she's gotten stronger, she's gotten more confident, and all the above. So I just had to bring that up too. That just reminded me.
Mm-hmm. No, this female athlete in particular, amazing athlete, amazing person, right? So, and let's go back to the weight too. 134, that's not heavy. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, we both lived through the early 2000s where everyone basically got fat shamed, and like we lived through an era where like that really, really, really skinny look was in for some stupid reason, mm-hmm. like that Kate Moss look, mm-hmm. right? But 134 for a female athlete, not heavy. Let's just put that on the record, okay? Especially when that person's super lean, right? Now, let's talk about two more other recent athletes. Now, they had only been with us for, I think I just counted, it was 8 weeks, but they were only coming in twice a week, okay? So it could have been more. I didn't suggest it because they played their high school lacrosse teams were practicing like every day in the off season, and then their travel lacrosse teams were also practicing basically every day, right? And then they obviously had to balance school. So my suggestion was only come in twice a week at most. All right, some weeks they only came in once. Now, in a short 8 weeks of seeing each other less than 24 times, right? Both of these athletes got faster. One of them actually got heavier. She put on 4.5 pounds, but she got faster, right? In only 8 weeks, a little less than 8 weeks, right? So, as far as sprint momentum, right? So, like I said before, mass times velocity. So, kilograms times meters per second, right? They each got at least 2% better, right? So they both went from, it's funny how they were both somewhat identical. Like they both went from like 410, like a score of 410 kilograms meters per second, and now they're pumping out 430. So, I mean, you do the math. And some would even say that's minimal effort, right, for them coming in, because it was mm-hmm. just making the most out of that hour and a half total that we would see them per week, okay? Could it have been better? I'm sure. But let's put it this way. We didn't put them on a nutrition plan. We did the best we could in the littlest amount of time that we had. And they are definitely more indestructible. Let's put it that way. So, that was important because one of them came in with a huge injury history, right? So, and the girl was frail. Let's be honest. She was fucking frail. Just like most female athletes are when they first come here. But, I like to pride ourselves on the fact that we do develop some badasses. Right?
Amazing, yeah.
It's funny. We were watching dodgeball last night, and it got me thinking about a softball player we used to train, and she loved dodgeball because it was like she loved playing dodgeball because it was like in the movie with Ben Stiller's wife in real life,
mm-hmm.
but I think ex-wife now, but she was a softball player, like her the character was at least, and she was just like annihilating these dudes with like that underhand throw. So it's pretty funny when you actually meet somebody that can do that in real life.
And even just to dial back for a second, for the one female athlete we were just talking about that was flexing in the mirror and taking so long in the bathroom, to dial it back to healthcare, and you know, this was and still is actually one of her self-care regimens. She loves training. This is part of like whatever kind of day she's had at school, because she's definitely a scholar athlete. We always promote that you're a student first. Your scholastic is the most important thing. Your athletics, you know, is a close second. We get it, but you know, you need to focus on your academics, right? That's huge. But no matter what type of day she had, if there were crazy tests she had to study for, if she was stressed, whatever, and then, you know, other types of maybe specific training or whatever that she was doing outside of this, she has to be here. She loves being here, and this helps her reduce the stress. And she actually feel like whatever kind of mood she comes in with, because sometimes you can just tell everybody comes with their stuff. Sometimes even the younger athletes, everybody gets stressed. This was and is still part of her de-stress. Like, this is part of her physical, emotional, mental, spiritual way of helping her to release that stuff. And she always feels better. This like taking a vitamin every day, you know, getting your meditation in, whatever. This is part of it. So this was her self-care. It will always be part of her self-care. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
That was the perfect way to wrap up everything in this episode anyway. So we led off talking about self-care because that's what the whole thing about this episode was. And it's everything that we had spoken about, Gina had spoken about in the beginning, and then even from an athletic standpoint, just looking at one particular thing that can show that you actually are improving and taking care of your body, right? So at the end of the day, you just need to figure out what works best for you as far as pumping out the best version of yourself. And you should never feel bad about taking the time to work out, right? Like, I don't care how busy your family and work life is, and I'm not saying you need to be in the gym 6 days a week for 4 hours a day.
That's
but you need to take the time to basically just put enough stress on your body to where you feel and see physical adaptations to occur, and then just release all those stress hormones, right? So to feel better, to lower your cortisol, and just figure out what works best, right? It may be lifting weights, it may be hiking, it could be yoga, whatever it is. Get out and do something physical, right? I mean, we're more than happy to help in that aspect.
Absolutely,
we strongly believe in what we do, obviously, but you know, self-care, I mean, you couldn't have put it any better. Self-care is the new healthcare, right? And I don't know the specific stats off the top of my head, but it's been said a lot, especially in the last 2 years. The level of depression and anxiety amongst all Americans, let alone people in the world, with everything everyone's gone through in the past several years, has never been higher. So with that, just keep that in mind. So now, so many people have so much mental shit going on right now, and let's be real, there's only so many doctors. And we all know people that have said they've gone to the ER, they've gone to the doctor, and they waited for several hours, like longer than they ever have. It's because there's so many more fucked up people in this world right now. So that's why self-care is the new healthcare. Take care of yourself so you don't have to wind up in line at these doctors.
And exercise is some of the best medicine.
Absolutely.
That was a text message that I had sent to a member that has been, I don't know, having some serious health complications within these past 2 years. And I think when you know, just being in a healthy community, doing something to exert that good stress, get some oxygen in your system, get some healthy blood flow, deliver nutrients to your body, heart, lungs, brain, muscle tissue, everything. It's priceless. I mean, that's something that, you just have to start to think about. You can't put a dollar sign on it, because your health is priceless. Yeah, your health is priceless.
You only get one life and one body, so take care of it. So again, self-care is the new healthcare. I love that line. I think it's very important. If you need help figuring out your perfect self-care plan, we would love to sit down and have a consultation with you, just like we do for everybody that joins our 8-week challenge, right? So we like to help people plan out their days and their weeks so that they can be the most successful version of themselves, right? So, I mean, like I said, for some people, it's just getting in here twice a week and then balancing out maybe a walk or two on their own. Who knows? Whatever it is, we'll help you figure it out. So, take care of yourself for sure, so you can be the best parent, spouse, partner, athlete, child, whatever it may be, that you can deliver to your community and the world. So, anything else to add?
That's it.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. We appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Overdrive AF. We love that we've been on a roll again recently, pumping these out. And please excuse the poor editing from this amateur editor, but he's doing his best to try to figure out this whole filming thing and recording thing since Destroyer fucking left us, and I'm throwing that in there because I know he's listening.
I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
No, I'm just bringing it up because I want Destroyer to know how much we miss him. Screw you, Destroyer.
He's doing some good things, and
He's doing amazing.
It's talking about self-care.
Yes.
He's living it up in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing things that he loves. So start implementing. Prioritize yourself. It's important, guys.
Absolutely. So with that note, we are out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Peace.